Tonight, Mandalorian 2 first look, season 2 first look, cyborg drama in DC land, and the end of an era, or is it? On Comic Book Canon! Welcome to Comic Book Canon. It is Friday yet again in this pandemic life we are all living. We are here all together talking about the freshest comic book related news, the hobby we all love, the one thing that draws us all together here as a community, and we love to do this each and every week, and I love to do this each and every week with my partner in crime, who is having an issue with some flies. Is that right, Chris?
Huh? What? Dude, seriously. All right. It's going down tonight. It's going down tonight. As you guys can see, I made my fly in a tour. Now I already took out one, but there he is. I'm gonna get him. But so guys, don't be alarmed if I start, karate chopping some flies here with my flyinator tonight. All right. So
it's gonna happen. I already saw him swat one fly. He may have another one before the end of the show, if we are all lucky. Is that right?
I'm gonna get him.
All right. Well, speaking of luck, though, we're all in luck because we finally got a first look of a beloved series. It's not even. I mean, it's a year. It's less than a year old, but we already got our first look at season 2. Chris, tell us all about it. I'm super excited.
Yeah. So we got a first look at Mandalorian. We talked about last week if we were going to get a trailer. I said, nah, I don't think it's going to happen this week. Maybe another week out. But we got some awesome first looks, and with these first looks, we got some great news. A lot of awesome statements from Favreau himself. With the new set images, Favreau went on to say that the new season is about introducing a larger story in the world. Obviously, this is great. We're very much on a micro level of what we saw in terms of The Mandalorian season 1. Favreau went on to say that everything gets bigger, the stakes get higher, and the personal story between the child and the Mandalorian develop in a way that I think people will enjoy. He also talked about how season 2 will introduce new characters that will evolve multiple storylines, comparing it to similarities to Game of Thrones and how they follow, multiple character storylines in a broader world on their individual journeys and adventures. So I think everything that Favreau had to say is a great take on being able to, like you said, I mean, we want to know what's going on with the child. This relationship is key. It's at the forefront. It's what drove the first series, obviously. But I think to really evolve this series, it will do it great justice to explore outside of just that relationship. We don't want it to get redundant. We want questions answered, but we also want much more. And I think that we're definitely going to have that with this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year they started off strong in that first episode. At the end of that first episode, where it is the reveal of the child, it's the reveal of the same species as Yoda, baby Yoda. They revealed that to us in the first episode, and from then on, it was a wild ride. I loved every second of it. I can only imagine, as Favreau says, that the stakes get higher. We are probably going to see more of that story, where the kid is going to go, but bringing in Boba Fett, bringing in Ahsoka Tano, that is just going to be huge. It's going to be massive, and I expect bigger and better for this season 2.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We know that Gideon is going to play a bigger role, and we're going to probably learn more about what his motives are. I think Favreau talked about that too, exploring his motives and how that's going to intertwine in terms of battling the Mandalorian. I think this is also another way too, where you look at the tone that season 1 set just for the Star Wars universe / Disney Plus Star Wars in general, and how there's so much out there, especially in this time frame that it's taken place, post Return of the Jedi. And I don't know, we don't know exactly, how many years after, but we know that Obi-Wan is going to start filming soon for the Obi-Wan series, which could possibly be taking place around well, actually, no, I take that back. That's going to be before, but I still think that there's a lot of tie-ins to where there's these gaps, right, between the films, and how can we expand those timelines away from just Skywalker stuff. So I apologize about that. Yeah, Obi-Wan deals with in between the prequels and the original story. This takes place after the original stories, or original films. But again, there's so much universe to explore. So as the Mandalorian is kind of this foundation for this time period, I think so much can really come from it to where we could see even more either solo films or even more Disney Plus series.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much. We say this all the time when we bring up the Star Wars universe. There's so much more meat on the bone. There's so much more to explore in all phases. The prequels, even before the prequels, actually, is what they're going to probably be exploring as well. Yep. The prequels, the original trilogy, the sequels. I'm super excited about where Star Wars is headed, and it's going to start. I mean, it's just going to keep continuing in about a month and a half. Super psyched. But I have some breaking news I need to report right now. Okay? Right now.
Sure.
I want everybody to know. Landon Brown. In case anybody is wondering, I changed my name from Kid Collector to my real name because my friend said that it sounded like I collect kids, and I didn't want it to sound like that. We love Kid Collector. I like that name. I never, ever, ever thought you collected kids. But Landon's a great name too. But I still think I want to call you Kid Collector if you will allow it. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. Wanted to throw that out there to everybody else. Landon, we are super happy to see you every week. And whatever name you want to go with, we'll roll with. All right? How's that sound? All right. So moving on. For Star Wars news. The future streaming of Blockbusters. It has been a slow time for us comic book fans. It's been a slow time for us blockbuster movie fans in general. And it's only going to continue to keep at this pace because it was just announced that Wonder Woman 1984 will be delayed until Christmas. That's yet another delay for this DC film we are all looking forward to build off of the last film that was just fantastic. Finally, DC getting on the right track, we hope. So that is kind of that's definitely a disappointment, Chris. Not a surprise, but a continual disappointment, right? So DC, Warner Brothers, they have to be thinking, they have to be wondering, they have to keep in mind the option of this streaming, of a streaming service, which would be HBO Max in that case. Do you add a premiere charge like you do for Mulan? Because another film that is still slated to come out on November the 6th, Black Widow. We're all craving MCU content, MCU news, MCU anything. But again, same boat. This movie, Marvel needs to seriously consider what is going to happen. Because if they wait to release this in 2021, they're going to start all over on marketing, on their marketing campaign, which is at least $100 million. That's pretty expensive, Chris, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, even for Disney. I mean, at this point in time, too, where where they've been sitting on, revenue, and I think I said last week, Black Widow cannot be postponed again. You look at Wonder Woman, and I think DC and Warner Brothers has a little bit of leeway because when you look at the DCEU, they're not stacked, right? So there's a little difference there. Yeah. But with Black Widow, so much is stacked after Black Widow. And we've already pushed back all of these films so much. I just don't see it happening. They can't afford another pushback.
I mean, it's almost like taking an L, and that's a $200 million loss in a way. I mean, but it all hinges on one film here, Mulan. How is that doing in terms of the premiere streaming on Disney Plus? Are people paying $30 to watch that? And it's interesting because Disney CFO Christine McCarthy said Disney is very pleased with what they saw. There was a 68% spike in downloads of the app, the Disney Plus app. 2 weeks after the release of the film, it was reported that it was the #1 streaming film. More details may be released in the Disney quarterly earnings call in November. Now, could this lead to an announcement that they will finally release Black Widow? Because early November is when Black Widow is slated to come out. That's still a possibility. So all three of these movies are tied into one another, right? all three of these big blockbuster comic book movies, well, Wonder Woman and Black Widow, are tied into what happens with Mulan. And again, if you guys, there's a lot of controversy going on with Mulan in terms of political things such as the pro-democracy in Hong Kong and where they shot some of the scenes in an anti-Muslim area in China. So there's a lot of things, a lot of people protesting this film. But will Disney see some promise in this? Again, all political stuff aside, as comic book fans, I guarantee you everybody who's watching this right now wants to have at least the option to be able to watch Black Widow on streaming premium as opposed to waiting until 2021 for this to come out. Because again, all of the MCU hinges on the release of Black Widow.
Yeah, and I don't ever want to overshadow serious real life issues that might, whether I agree or I'm not saying I agree or disagree with these issues going on with Milan. I'm just saying, I'm not overlooking them to say that they're not valid issues to at least address. But it's kind of a disappointing that so much was riding on the success of this film for these others to where just from, like you said, as a comic book fan approach, we wanted to see a natural, organic, these numbers come in organically for Mulan to be able to gauge. And I think those numbers, because of the controversy, are now a bit distorted. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to take, those variables into consideration, when you're trying to run a data analysis on what it may look like in terms of revenue for a Black Widow VOD release. But like you said, I mean, it's still a number one. Mulan's still number one streaming after the first week. I watched it with my kids. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So we paid the $30. But it's tough that we don't have the actual numbers. I know that there was good. They looked at the numbers coming from the international market for theatrical release is positive considering how many theaters are still closed. Ultimately, though, even though we don't know the numbers in terms of the video on demand revenue, they know, they're analyzing it, and they're going to make the best decision that they feel fit.
They're absolutely watching very closely. Now, before we move on, actually, one thing we forgot to mention was going back to Mandalorian. Last chance to get these books. Yeah. Star Wars 42 and the Clone Wars #1, last chance. Like, they're ridiculously expensive right now. But once the trailer comes out, these things are going to pop even higher. So we forgot to mention that, Chris. Anyway, so moving on, as you have your fly swatter in hand. Can we see this?
I'm ready.
How's that engineered? What's the construction on there?
This? Yeah. We got this is a poster mailer. And then this is a BCW backing board as the swatter. Boom.
Right. Okay. I see you got the velocity with the poster mailer, and then the strength of a BCW backing board. BCW should maybe sponsor this show because we highly recommend it. Not only an excellent product for comic books, but fly swatting. Anyway, absolutely. Moving on to our next story, DC related, DC drama, Chris.
Man, yeah. So we also reported a couple weeks back about Ray Fisher being unhappy with Joss Whedon on the set of Justice League. Now it's reporting that Ray Fisher is going to reprise his role in the Flash film, despite this drama that's been going on. So going back, just to look at how this started, Fisher accused Joss Whedon of abusive and unacceptable behavior of the cast on the set of Justice League. Fisher went on to accuse CCO Jeff Johns and producer John Berg of, quote, enabling Whedon's behavior. Warner Brothers did release a statement this week, though, denying Fisher's claim. They also reported that DC Films president Walter Hamada met Fisher to discuss his appearance in the Flash film this week, which will most likely be for a cameo. Nothing too big or heavy, but I mean, look, he's still a part of this Justice League. We talked about what does this mean? Look, we know that the cast got behind the Snyder cut. I talked about how mixing Whedon with Snyder, literally is like mixing Ford truck owners with Chevy truck owners. They're going to kill each other. I used a better metaphor last time, but anyways, it was a bad mix that just doesn't belong, like cheese on chocolate or something, unless it's cream. I'm not talking about cream cheese, man. I'm talking about like cheddar jack, right? So, this is very interesting because if we take Ray Fisher's words at face value, we can really look at that and be like, wow, so what really was going on? And then Warner Brothers denies anything. But what makes the mystery even deeper and thicker is that co-host Aquaman star Jason Momoa comes out with an image on his Instagram this week with hashtag I stand with Ray Fisher. And again, this is extremely, extremely cryptic. I remember when this first came, when Fisher first came out with these allegations. It was right in the height of the George Floyd killing and protests. And I think the way the media pushed it, it made it seem that it was kind of maybe race related but none of that has surfaced. So I thought it was, maybe it was just creative differences, but it gets deeper in thicker waters here. I really don't know what's going on and where this is going to lead. Jeff, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that DC doesn't need this. No studio really needs something like this, but DC, especially with trying to get on track and trying to do their thing here, they really don't need this. And it's not as easy as like, oh, we'll just replace this actor, right? As you just said, he's got support from his cast. So I don't know. It could have been a sensitive issue that was blown out of proportion, or it could be like legit, there's merit to it. The only people that really know are the people there, but it's not going away. This is, 2 months in we're talking about this?
Yeah, definitely. So I agree. Warner Brothers needs to continue on a positive track. I assume this first time around, and I'm going to try to assume it just because I want to be optimistic. I want to assume that this was nothing more than creative differences with such extreme personalities, with Snyder and Whedon just being on the opposite ends. And and we brought up, we were talking about how maybe Fisher stating that Jeff Johns and John Burr were enabling this behavior, maybe because they were so supportive of Whedon's vision that completely went against Snyder's vision, that they felt like, they were kind of getting blackballed, just had no voice, and you're here to do a job, whatever Whedon says go. So again, until more details come out, we have to speculate on to what level and what extent, because again, you look back at the words, abusive behavior.
Yeah.
That's intense wording there. That should not be taken lightly.
Yeah. It's all, and to make it more confusing though, is the fact that he's negotiating to be in the Flash. Yeah. So it can't be that bad. I don't know. Honestly, I don't want to diminish anything that's happened, or somebody that felt like they were hurt or, were treated wrong. So again, let's just wait to see if this gets resolved. Hopefully it does. Again, we want our comic book films to be coming out and we want them to be good. So we don't want this to be a distraction from everything else. So hopefully it gets resolved and they move on and he signs a deal. He's in the Flash and Justice League does well. And yeah, anyways, going forward though. All right, we do have more news. The last piece of news tonight is the end of an era. Or is it? Walking Dead to end with season 11, but it's not over. The Walking Dead is not over. There will be multiple spinoffs here. So all you Walking Dead fans can have that to look forward to. Scott Gimple, a longtime producer on the show. It's been 10 years gone by. What lies ahead are 2 more to come, and stories to tell beyond that. What's clear is that the show has been about the living, made by a passionate cast, team of writers, producers, crew, bringing to life the vision put forth by Robert Kirkman in his brilliant comic, and supported by the best fans in the world. We have a lot of thrilling story left to tell on The Walking Dead, and then this end will be a beginning of more Walking Dead. Brand new stories and characters, familiar faces and places, new voices, and new mythologies. This will be a grand finale that will lead to new premieres. Evolution is upon us. All right, so it's supersized season. This final season is supersized to 24 episodes as opposed to 13 It will debut in the fall of 2021, which will probably take us to 2022. From there, they will spin off into two separate franchises. One will be Tales from the Walking Dead, an anthology series, which will follow different characters in each episode, exploring pockets of the Walking Dead universe which have been left undiscovered. And for all of you fans, fan favorites, Daryl and Carol will have their own spin-off show as well. And the news doesn't end there with The Walking Dead, because it's still reported that the Rick Grimes feature-length film will still be developed and produced. So a lot of stuff to talk about here in regards to The Walking Dead. That's quite a bit for our Walking Dead fans. Wouldn't you say, Chris?
Let me tell you, because I can't sugarcoat it. I've never watched one episode of The Walking Dead. I've never read one comic book. Crucify me for it. I never have. But look, I understand the impact that the show has had. I understand how loyal this fan base is, and I understand that this is a universe that can be expanded on. You know, we are really demanding universes at this point. And I remember, watching movies as a young kid or even as an adult, and you see these characters for 2 hours and then it ends and you don't see them ever again. And you're like, oh, I wonder what happened with that character after this or after that. And I think we really have the ability to expand on these things now with the technology that we have, with the ability of putting a big budget into a TV series and not just feature cinematic releases. So this can be a very healthy way to carry on the legacy of The Walking Dead while keeping it fresh, because you don't want to get redundant. I like when shows, and again, this goes without me watching any Walking Dead, but I like when shows can stay around for a good amount of years, but then know when to end, right? Mm-hmm. So I see this most likely as them understanding that, but understanding they have a lot more content that they can create to keep fans happy for a much longer time.
No, absolutely. By the way, shout out to Jay DeButcha. Good to see you here. I did watch Walking Dead. I have not seen every season. I probably fell off 4 seasons ago. I have read Walking Dead comic books. I think it's, no matter what you think about The Walking Dead, you cannot deny the impact it's had on the mainstream in terms of a comics book series being brought to life. You can't deny it. Mike Sears, you cannot deny this, even though you say The Walking Dead has been around since the modern age of comics. As far as I'm concerned, all modern comics is The Walking Dead. You can't say that. You can't say that. Maybe not. It may not be your cup of tea, but it has had an impact, and it's going to go beyond the original series. Okay, there is a lot to explore with the anthology series. They can go any character, anytime, any direction they want. That's exciting. The Daryl and Carol spinoff show, they are huge. They are extremely popular characters. That will be successful, no doubt to me. And then the Rick Grimes film, I'm kind of interested to see what direction they go with there. So in terms of The Walking Dead, it's not really going anywhere, even though the original series will end in a season and a half. So anyways, that is the news this week. We are now going to get into the top 10 hottest comic books of the week. CovrPrice. CovrPrice, they deliver the top 10 hottest comics of the week based off of sales data. And it is an interesting week this week, to say the least. Here we go. So we have at number 10, Black Panther. Number 1, the Lashley variant from 2009. Marvel Knights, Spider-Man, number 10. That is virus speculation right there, or Mac Gargan speculation, however you want to look at it, without any spoilers, because there are spoilers out there. Quite interesting indeed. Number 8 is Amazing Spider-Man. Number 4, the first appearance of Silk. Number 7 is Superman 4, the first appearance of Bloodsport. As you know, Idris Elba will be playing Bloodsport in the new Suicide Squad film. That book has picked up big time. It went from a $1 bin book to about $40 now. Number 6 is Black Panther. Number 5, first full appearance of Shuri as Black Panther. Number 5 is Spawn. Number 309, McFarlane Gunslinger variant. That one is hot. That was very hard to find when it first came out. Number 4 is the Black Panther. Number 2, first appearance of Shuri. Number 3 is the Miles Morales Spider-Man. Number 18, Marvel birthday cover variant. Number 2 is Batman 92, the retailer appreciation variant. And number 1 is the Amazing Spider-Man number 1, the 2014 version, which has the first cameo appearance of Cindy Moon. Chris, quite an interesting week.
Yeah. I'm still on. I don't want to talk about Black Panther. I addressed that last week. That's all I have to say to that. Great books. I'm just not there to talk about those. So I had to get a little creative with my picks this week. So I wanted to start with. Well, first off, I want to say that besides Spawn, I've been missing the Independence lately. Spawn's been there for the last few weeks, but I've been missing the Independence. I think the Independence had a really strong go for months since we started this show. Okay, but with that being said, my number 3 pick was Superman number 4, first appearance of Bloodsport. Look, anytime especially a Superman comic from this era gets hot, I love it. One, because when I was a kid around this time, I started reading Superman comics. But this isn't just the only reason. That's personal to me. But another reason is because you have a character that I feel has never gotten a lot of love. He's a black minority character created in the 80s that now is coming to life in a film by Idris Elba, an actor that I don't think there's been any role that I've seen him in that I've been disappointed with. He's just one of those actors that I feel can do anything. And what's interesting is that there was a lot of talk this week about the race changing of the characters in Suicide Squad, starting with Will Smith with Deadshot. And I like that James Gunn came out with the new Suicide Squad movie and didn't just recast Deadshot, but got creative with another character, and it stayed true to the character in the story. Now, while doing this, though, James Gunn did stand in support of Ayer's first Suicide Squad movie to change Deadshot to a black actor. I felt like it didn't matter. Will Smith is another amazing actor, but I think Idris Elba is going to shine in this character. I think it's going to allow this character's appearances in the comic books to get hot with a new generation. And, I don't see DC doing this as much as Marvel, because I know Marvel has had a lot of success with the films, right, in the MCU. So then they'll go back to the comic books and they'll start doing a new Infinity Saga, right? Or they'll start bringing these characters in, and I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I won't get all into that now. I think they're evolved and they're working on something good right now. But I do see this as an opportunity to possibly get this character situated back into the comics as well, if done right. So I'm just overall extremely happy about this book. A High Raw is going for $40. It's nothing extremely crazy, but hey, people are buying it.
That is crazy for an 80s book. I'll tell you what, I bought this one off the rack. I love this series. I love John Byrne. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. He created this character right here. I don't know. I can't see. I have to be honest. I do think that this will die down after the movie hype. I don't see much going on with Bloodsport, but hey, DC could get creative. It's Idris Elba. Who knows what could happen there? But I love seeing this on the list. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. And let me be clear. I'm not picking, I don't pick these books because I'm going to say, go spec on this book so you can because it's going to increase in value. I don't pick these books just for monetary reasons. I picked this book because I think the reason why it's hot, and like I said, younger generation readers with an actor like Idris Elba coming in and playing this character, I think this character can be given life. And I don't think this book is ever going to be an extremely valuable book, but there's other reasons to enjoy these books or enjoy these characters getting popular, getting hot, other than monetary reasons. So I just want to.
This is a great run. Again, John Byrne killed it on this run. This brought me into Superman comic books as well. I love this run. Isaac Maynard, great to see some Superman get some love.
Yep.
Come pick up that. Yeah, time for awesome. All right. Anyways, I just want to say, hey, Collecting Chaos, what's up? Happy to see you here. Better late than never.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on.
All right, guys. My second pick. Now, this is an interesting one. I believe I picked this book, more of it because of its controversy, and it gives us a little something fun to talk about, and that's Batman 92 Retailer Appreciation Variant. This book, guys, is sold in a high raw for $335. I'm not too big on like black and white covers, but I will say the way that this was set up with the black and white, I like it. I like the border, the simple border frame around it too. I always like border frames on comic book covers. So the black and white kind of appealed to me. $335, guys. But listen, here's the thing. This is the variant height. You know, when Matt Forge talked about it on our show yesterday, more towards the second and third and fourth printing type variants that they're doing. But here's the thing. Current market value on this book has seemed to already have dropped down to around $225 for a high raw. So I bring this up because we see so much of the fear of missing out in the hype, the initial hype that these books, spark as soon as they hit. But how long does that last, right? So my point of bringing this up is if you guys aren't, it's like when you look at new product on the market, especially if you look at electronics, right? You have a certain demographic, and I don't know the technical economic terms of them off the top of my head, but look at smartphones. You always get those that they're like the test drivers, right? They're willing to be the first in line to get the new smartphone, maybe even before it hits market. They're willing to pay top dollar amount. Then there's those that upon the initial release, they're spending the money. They're right there. They want the new product in their hands, to be the first to show off. But then there's those that wait around. They maybe wait for the price to drop, and they wait for the market to kind of die down, and then they go for it. And then you get those that say, I don't care. I still have my old flip phone from 15 years ago, right? Now, you can look at the variant market or the spec market of comic books very similar. And that's to where these people that were paying $335 for this book raw, if they are content with knowing that they wanted to be the first to hop on this book while the hype is at its peak, taking the risk that it's going to drop off and cool off, then that's okay. And I brought this up on my channel. I brought this up on our last segment last week as well. The thing that can hurt the speculation market, even around variants, is if we are those FOMOs where our fear of missing out is almost like an addiction. Mm-hmm. That's like where, and I use the example of if you go to Vegas with $1,000 in your pocket, you better go in knowing that there's a high chance and a high risk of you coming out of Vegas with no money in your pocket, right? There might be a chance of you coming out with double money in your pocket. But regardless, whatever you come out of that casino with or you leave Vegas with, whatever money is in your pocket, you need to be content. You should be happy. Say, look, I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. It should be the same thing with these variants. If you're out there FOMOing, you got to understand that you're taking that risk. And if that risk doesn't pay off in the end and you have, I don't want to say buyer's remorse. I call it the come down, the FOMO come down. Like the high is gone and you're like, oh, shoot, I just spent $330. Now it's only worth $200. Damn. And then we get burnt out on the market. I don't want to see that happen. So that's kind of my take on what this specific book did. Maybe we'll see more of this in the future. And I hope that if we do one way or the other, it maintains a positive approach to comic book collecting.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. We need to circle back in the next few weeks to see how this book is doing, because I would put money down saying that this book is going to cool off. And if you are dying to get this book, I would wait it out.
Yep.
I really would. Get it a few weeks, a month down the road. $335 for that book is just absolutely outrageous to me. I like to play the game of purchasing books to be able to buy bigger books because knowing that they're going to get, probably heat up. But this one, if you are dying to get this, I would wait it out. No doubt. Well said, Chris. Well said. Let's see. What do we got for our last book today?
All right, last book. Look, again, this is not a book that is gonna break bank here, or the opposite. Earn you a lot of bank if you're trying to flip it. But it's definitely impressed and has surprised, and it's Amazing Spider-Man #1. This has the first cameo appearance of Cindy Moon, who becomes Silk. I love Spider-Man, and I love seeing Spider-Man at #1. Now, I got to point out, Amazing Spider-Man #4, first appearance of Silk, is still on this list. I think it came in to somewhere around 6 or 7. But again, this is another book that if you're specking on a character, that first appearance of Silk, issue #4, is a hot book that you're probably not going to find in a high grade for under a couple $100 at this point. So hey, why not spend some money that won't break your bank on a cameo appearance? And this goes back to the thing about cameo appearance. Cameo appearance have monetary value to gain because when those first full appearances get, kind of out of the reach of some investors, they go for the next best thing. And this is that. Now, a high sale CGC sold for $90. That's not too bad, though. I always take into consideration how much a book is costing, and for a modern book, with shipping costs and all that, you got to look at a book costing $30. It adds a little bit of value. So if you're paying, I would say anywhere from $40 to $50 for a high grade raw, it's something that I would have never expected. But and I do believe it might cool down a little bit. Once I think this book is still going to go up, just like issue #4, because of all the Cindy Moon hype. But I don't think this book will hold as much value over the long term like issue #4 will. I think it's going to take a harder dip, but because I feel this character is going nowhere, after all the hype is done, I do see this book gradually increasing some. I don't know, I don't see this book necessarily as a high grade raw ever getting over like $100 book. I mean, we could be sitting here 20 years from now and Cindy Moon and Silk have shown up in the MCU and she's right there with Miles Morales. I don't know if this cameo issue would ever get more than $100, but hey, like I said, I'm surprised at what it's going for now.
Yeah.
We shall see.
I'm super surprised because this book was everywhere in 2014 when it first came out. And again, there's no debate here. This is a true cameo appearance where she's in the background, crouched down. You don't even see her face. You don't see anything. It's kind of like a tease. It's not like one of those 180, 181 scenarios at all.
Right.
So I agree. I think it's going to be a pretty solid book. I think it's going to continue to be. I think it still has legs to grow because, again, Cindy Moon, the hype is only beginning with Cindy Moon right now. Just beginning, because who knows if she's going to be in the Spider-Verse sequel. Who knows if she's going to be part of Olivia Wilde's directorial MCU project. So TBD on this, but I wouldn't go out there and spend $100 on this book.
Yeah.
No
Well, I will recommend, and take this as you guys will, but if you guys are in an area where you can hit up different comic book shops. Like for me, where I'm at, I have like, a dozen shops in Sacramento alone. And then I'm only 45 minutes away from the Bay Area. You got Oakland, you got San Francisco, you got Berkeley. I have comic shops all over in an hour radius of me. If you guys are randomly hitting up comic book shops, hey, look, go search your Amazing Spider-Man back issue bins. And if these retailers or LC stores are still got these books marked at cover price or $9.99 or something like that, hey, there you go. I know for a fact that these books like this, when they're not like in your face keys and the hype isn't, widespread, then there's a lot of stores that aren't constantly checking their inventory.
Mhm.
And there's a chance that you could still find this book probably for $10 or maybe even less.
Yep, no doubt. And I'd be on the search for it, but again, I would not be shelling out $90 for this book at all. It's in abundance. I really believe it's in abundance. So right there, that ends our top 10 hottest comic books of the week. CovrPrice's top 10 list based off of sales data, not speculation. So go check them out. We don't get paid to say that. Anyways, moving on. Normally we have like an interview during the week, or we have a special kind of segment like All In or Props or Slops. Props or Slops was great last week with Matt Forge. But this week, it was kind of a light week, and we apologize. But Chris and I are still going to deliver a little something to you. Right, Chris?
I'm ready.
Okay, so what we're going to do, everybody, we're going to do our picks of the week. It's low-hanging fruit, easy to do. And that's the route we're going to take this week. And we apologize, but next week we'll have a very special guest for our All In episode. All In, remember that. Jada Butcher did an excellent job last month. Anyways, so moving on. Picks of the week. Chris, I'm going to go first if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
All right. Web of Venom. Wraith. I love this character. He's kind of like a gun-toting kind of Western kind of character. That it's obvious that that's the route they're going with him. He is so Clint Eastwood from The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. It's not even funny. Down to the poncho that he's wearing over his, over his kind of chest area, doing the gunslinging stuff, grabbing the gun. But more than that, this ties into the whole Venom thing going on. It's just kind of snowballing. All of these people kind of that Donny Cates is bringing in to kind of set up the King in Black event that's happening in December. It is really cool to see where this character's from, how he ties into Null, and where it leads to Eddie Brock. And I highly, highly, highly recommend this book to all of you who are loving the Venom run from Donny Cates, the Thor run from Donny Cates, and are looking forward to that King in Black. I cannot recommend this book enough. Check it out. Once again, Web of Venom, Wraith, check it out. Chris, what do you have?
Yeah, before I show on mine, I want to say I just saw Land said, don't spoil it. I'm in the same boat. I just started reading the Cates Venom run. I said, you know what? I got to hop on board. I started reading it a few days ago. I'm on issue 9. I'm definitely loving it. So I was like, yeah. You know, what's interesting was there was a virus spec book in the top 10 as well that I actually wanted to talk about, but I said, nope, I'm not even going into it because I'm not there yet. I'm not giving anything away. So
major spoilers there, guys, for a Venom issue that is not even out yet that ties into that. And that's all we'll say about that. But it's pretty cool what's happening there. Donny Cates is grabbing deep as he always does. Landon, Kid Collector, you're going to need to tell us what you think of this book, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really like the tone that they're taking with this character. Just this loner gunslinger type of character. Anyways, moving on.
Indeed.
Chris.
Indeed. All right. I got something now. Look, I got something that's going to I'm sure we're still going to get something negative from Mike Sears, but I'm telling you, Mike Sears is one of those that like never tried a certain type of food for his whole life. And then when somebody finally forced him to eat it, they're like, man, this is so good. Why didn't I try it years ago? And I'm talking about modern comics because, Mike, I'm telling you, there's some modern comics out there for you. And you're going to like this one because, yep, there it is too. The Three Jokers. You know, I know Mike's the huge Batman fan. Look, I read this book waiting 4 years from when we first got the quote, there's three, from Batman, from the Dark Side war that took place in 2016 in the New 52 Justice League. Now, I dove into this book with, I haven't been reading the Joker War. I haven't been reading Batman. So I dove into this, and just from the first few pages, the one thing that stood out to me was this is Batman as a detective at his best. And that's probably the main thing that I really liked about it. That element, you know, when Batman is showing off his detective skills, and that's the way the writing is going. That's what I like. And I know I'm going to reference this to the New 52. I know that Snyder's Batman was really, really hot in that New 52 run, and I agreed. But honestly, I fell off that run halfway through, and it just got too convoluted to me. You know, after they did the Court of Owls and all that. But what I really liked about the setting up of Detective Comics during New 52 was, again, it brought Batman back to his detective roots. So you get that here with this book. You're bringing in a lot of elements with Jason Todd's Red Hood so far to come in and pair up. You got Barbara, you know, back up in the Batgirl costume, working with side by side with Bruce, and they're going up against the Joker. Now, here's the thing. I'm gonna say it like this. I am not going to be happy if the three Jokers, and I won't try to give too much away, guys, but let me just tell you like this. We don't know very much detail yet as what's going on with the three Jokers. But if there was three Jokers from the beginning, I'm not going to like that. To me, it downplays the character. It downplays the layers of one of the greatest supervillains ever created. You know, but I am very, very confident with the writing and the way that it's going. I'm very confident that they're going to explain the three Jokers in a way that's going to shock us. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's going to be a 3-part series. Very happy with the first book. Can't wait for the second one.
I enjoyed it too, Chris. I absolutely enjoyed it as well. I thought it was really deep. I thought it was really kind of like the psychology involved in all of it, especially with one of the storylines and characters that you follow is excellent. Absolutely excellent. I'm excited to see where it goes. And I agree 100% with you. It kind of just waters down what the Joker's been for the past 80 years, if that's what happens. So I don't think that's the route they're going to take, but only time will tell. Now, Mike Sears has an opinion, Chris.
Oh, yeah. What do we got?
Chris, there are certain types of food that is simply not good for your health. Modern comics are that food for your mind that is not good for it. My guess is the modern Joker is beta politically correct. Now, I have so much to say here, Mike. I respect your opinion, but also I think there's some quality stuff coming out these days, Mike.
Yep.
There really is. There's some well-written stuff coming out these days. There were some amazing artists that are working on these projects these days. And I don't, in my opinion, I don't think it's fair to just diminish all of that work, because there is some great stuff coming out. And I'm not going to convince you to go out and buy new books at all. That's fine. It's your prerogative, and you like what you like. But you know, I feel like you're missing out, and I think a few other people feel that as well. But again, we're happy you're here every week giving us your opinion.
Yeah, I like to add on that too. Yeah, I think it's, look, you know, whether we agree or not, we can respect that. Look, there's been a lot of issues with modern comics over the last 20 years. Well, ever since the 90s and all that happened.
I guess 30
you know,
years.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So we get it. I mean, just the price point's tough. You know, and then I was just talking about, I was reading the new, I'm loving Donny Cates, okay? But I was reading the new Thor, and although I enjoy it, I still felt like the first 5 issues could have been like 2 books, because we're paying $3.99, and I could read one book in literally like 45 seconds, and nothing really happened to the story arc. So, you know, there's issues like that. Yes, sometimes there's the art that's like, what the heck? Bad art isn't anything new, though. Bad art has been around for decades. That's not just modern, you know. So there's a lot of things that we can sit and agree with, but I don't like the generalization, and I don't like the fact that that look, it's like you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't. This is the you can't do a movie review without watching the movie. You can't rate a restaurant without eating the food from that restaurant. And even if it's Italian food, look, I'm Italian. I grew up with home cooking Sicilian Italian food. Now, for me, when I go eat Sicilian food at a restaurant or Italian food at a restaurant, it's hard to please. I'm like Mike. I grew up with, say, Silver Age or Bronze Age comics. That's my goodness, right? So like the modern comics are like the Italian food restaurants. It's not the home cooking, right? But if I was to sit and just say, oh, it's restaurant Italian food, it's not real Italian food. That's not right. Because I'll tell you what, there's a local restaurant called Pietro's. And I'm telling you, man, they're a restaurant. They're Sicilian owned. And boy, are they home cooked Sicilian eating. So I hope that could be a good type of kind of a metaphor or example to use. It's like we can't be so narrow-minded to categorize every little thing without even knowing. How can you tell me that you don't like what's in this book if you haven't opened the book up and read the words on the pages or looked at the pictures on the pages? So again, I say this respectfully, Mike. We like Jeff said, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate that you challenge with your different opinions, but I always like to have a bit of optimism to where we can have our pros and cons and we can voice our cons, but we can't do it in such a way that is such a detriment to a whole industry. How can the industry ever evolve if we aren't even just giving it a chance, right? So I think, we got to give certain things a chance before we are so quick to judge them.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, so I just want to throw this out here before we leave tonight. If you guys have any picks of the week, please be sure to share them with us tonight and every week, and we'll definitely go through all of them. Chris and I read as much as we can. We all have busy schedules in our lives, especially with the way the world is right now. It's really, everything's turned upside down for a lot of us, but we're still getting those breaks to be able to read the comic books that we actually do love and enjoy. So please share your picks of the week with us. I know Landon, aka Kate Collector, has some. He's obviously picking up Web of Venom tomorrow, he said, so we can't spoil anything for him. Although I do wonder how you read Venom issue 28. I want to hear about that without telling us anything illegal you did, because it could be incriminating. Here's a good question. So now we're moving on to Q&A, because Landon's got a great question here. So Q&A time, folks. When is the comic book canon merch coming? We haven't even spoken about that, Chris. I don't know. Like, I think we need a better logo to be able to get merch going. Chris and I have patchworked this show together. We're so appreciative of all you guys watching with us and joining together with us on Fridays and all that stuff. I think, when the time comes for us to kind of take things to the next level, hopefully maybe it does, we can talk about merch. I don't know, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I just announced yesterday on my stream for Journos Comics that I will be, once I hit 3. Oh, by the way, I do want to state that I reached, me and my subscribers reached over 2,500 subs 2 days ago. So I gave a big thank you to all my subscribers, which is, I know a lot of you over here. Thank you. So without everyone and everyone's support, so I said when I hit 3,000 subscribers, I'll be rolling out merch. But so look, I think my response in terms of comic book canon, this is at least for me, this show in this channel is added so much to me just as a creator in general, and to this is an extension of Journos Comics in my opinion. It's all part of what makes me who I am. It's a part of what makes me a part of this bigger community. But at the same time, everything we do too, it is a brand. And we have to make those proper steps. We do this to have fun. But if we didn't recognize it as a brand, we wouldn't be able to bring you guys the best content that we can. So yeah, I do feel with this channel, we will get to a point to where we're going to have some merch. We're going to have a lot more things than what you see going on. Obviously, we've only been doing this for a few months. We're still getting the ball rolling in the snowball amassing more and more each week. So hey, with the help of you guys and spreading the word and just showing up every Friday and telling your friends and sharing it on social media, the quicker we can continue to improve and get to offering you guys more and more awesomeness.
Yep. Now here's the clarification from Kid Collector. For Venom 28, I was talking about the leaks. Yep. Kind of crazy. And if you look at that top 10 list, you can piece one thing together. We're not giving away spoilers per se, but it's out there. And I kind of wanted to avoid it, but I was like, what's going on here? And then yeah, so it's definitely interesting. Kid Collector's asking all the questions today. Do you have your own channel? No, I kind of do my stuff here. I really feel lucky that I get to work with Chris here on Comic Book Canon. So I don't have time to branch out and do my own thing, to be honest with you. So I get to be creative on here. We're going to start trying to do creative things. We've been limited because of COVID, trying to get outside of the talking head here because that drives me crazy, drives Chris crazy. We want to do more for you guys. So we have more ideas coming. We have more interviews coming, actually, with some interesting people. So stay tuned to that. We're really excited about that, especially some controversial topics. We're super excited about that. But I do not have my own channel. I don't barely have time for Comic Book Canon. So yeah, Chris, by the way, I did see that fly go through the camera.
Yeah, he just landed, but right when I picked up my swatter, he moved.
He knows better. He's lost a few of his friends.
You're right.
So anyways, all right, so it's looking like this is the end of the show, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Chris and I do this every week, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Please hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you want to see on this channel. Hit us up on the old Instagram. Chris, what is our Instagram channel? It is at Comic Book Canon.
Comic Book Canon. Two ends.
Yeah, two ends. Like boom, Comic Book Canon. We also do the Twitters too. So hit us up, please. Hit us up there. Love to hear from you guys constantly. We will be back next Friday for an entertaining show. We will have our all-in, a special guest who will be telling us what comic book they are all in with. Chris, any parting words for this evening?
I just want to say thank you all for joining again tonight. And again, just guys, keep supporting the channel. Keep showing up. Share the link on your guys' YouTubes if you have an actual YouTube account with followers. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Instagram. Share it on Twitter. Tell your friends. We appreciate all the support. And besides that, have a good weekend. Be good to yourselves and be good to each other.
Absolutely. One more thing I will say, if you guys have your own YouTube channels, please leave them in the comments below. We will be happy to follow you and continue talking. Maybe we can collaborate or something. Anyways, thank you again so much for joining us tonight. We will be back next week. You all have a great week. Peace.